Welcome to the Purity Pulse podcast, your go-to podcast for the natural health industry and everything Purity Life. I'm Erin.
And I'm Julie.
And today we are live at our 40th anniversary in Acton at our distribution center.
Yes, the last one of the four,
yes,
right?
The last in a series of four.
It was fantastic. We're away from the stage or where it's happening because...
Well, we had to be because there's so much buzz going on.
Absolutely. We're going to chat soon with people that were so excited to be here and hearing from them from the stories back in time and having actually David Chapman, the founder, being here. It's kind of wild.
Right?
Right?
It feels like a total culmination. It's not only the culmination of our series of events, but it's this culmination of this 48 years, right? There's so much history and so much background and so many stories and so many people and pieces of this puzzle that's created this amazing company that we both get to work for.
Yeah. And I think that taking a step back we did all the other events and we have the tabletop, we're with the vendors and the reps and we talk and we have fun. But today is special because sitting there and really looking at David being here and realizing that this company started 40 years ago. How many company have that longevity in distribution, in natural product? And you can see where it all started with his mind of being, he alluded that he's a hippie and he was like breaking the rules.
Yeah.
And it's sort of what the industry is about, stemmed. And so it's fantastic to see that and stop and really taking the time to appreciate it.
Yeah. And to celebrate it.
Yeah. It's more than just cutting the cake, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll have some very good interviews.
Yeah. So we've got David and then we've got some retailers as well and some people from our own team.
Yes. Nathan.
Let's get to it. So we are so excited today because we have the founder of Purity Life in 1984, David Chapman.
Hi.
The reason we're here celebrating 40 years.
I know. It's unbelievable and so inspiring to have you here with us. So tell us, did you always thought about having like your own company and starting Purity Life?
I've always had a desire for my own business.
Yeah.
And out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't make it to university. A few courses, but never made it. I was a factory worker for a few years. Yeah. And during that time, I thought often I could do better. And I took an accounting course, and I am a professional accountant, although I don't do it anymore. I ended up as a shareholder and a partner in a small computer store business, and it did well. But what I learned was that I did better dealing with the other computer stores, and I enjoyed dealing with them better than the public. But then I was bought out, ended up becoming a wholesaler of computer components, and that lasted for a while, at which point my partner then decided to buy me out, and I was looking for something to do. I'm a child of the 60s, which meant I was a little bit of a hippie.
Right.
A little bit.
A mind of your own.
When I tried long hair, it didn't work.
No?
Well, when I tried long hair, I looked like Puff the Magic Dragon. It didn't work. And I also decided, I smoked grass a couple of times, didn't do anything for me, so I never got into the drug scene either. And I don't regret that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I got married. We moved to Acton, and I was basically like, well, what can I do? And when I say I was a bit of a rebel, I was always a little bit of a rebel in that the establishment were bad.
Right.
And I've learned that they're not all bad, just some of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I bought a prevention magazine, and in the magazine there was all these products available. And one of them, by the way, was Lavalin Herbal Deodorant, if that seems familiar to you. I wrote them and said I was starting this business, and they took me on and a few other products, which are gone, and started off in a storefront in downtown Acton. It was about 1,000 square feet. I had one initial employee.
Yeah.
My second employee was Donna, who you guys remember. Donna just recently retired. It started off as a mail order place. And I learned quickly how to lose money.
Right.
That's a start.
I bought an ad in in Canadian Living magazine for $8,500.
Right.
And in 2 years, I grossed $2,500, which is not the way to go.
Yeah, no.
But the people that were selling me Lavalin in the U.S. said, look, sell to health food stores. And so I was always open. So I went to the local health food store, bought an Alive magazine.
Yeah.
And ended up starting in business. And I remember the very first show was in Toronto. I can't remember the Hyatt or something around the airport. And I was there with some apricot kernels and Lavalin, and I started selling wholesale. In the first year at Purity, I think we lost about $75,000. My wife at the time still worked full-time,
Right.
and she supported me when I did this. And I made nothing.
Yeah.
And it was the second or third year before I started paying myself anything. And then I started going to shows and got to know, and I loved health food store owners, and I became part of the health food industry.
Yeah.
And I love the people. Within 2 years, I started paying, the second year I paid myself $150 a week. And in the third year, I started paying myself a little bit better, and we grew from there. And we've had good years.
Yeah.
And we had not so good years, but we did okay. We always made a little bit of money. And we grew. We went from the 2,000 square foot storefront downtown Acton into the former tannery building in town.
Right.
Then we bought this building here.
It's impressive to, like, without having experience, not in health food industry, not in distribution as well, that you created this. I mean, this is impressive.
Well, part of it was I did have a business background because I had been a controller at large companies. So I understood business. In fact, we started being computerized, whereas in the industry back then, there was no such thing as
That would have helped,
computerization.
okay.
And Purity Life was the first people to do carousels. There's carousels out
Yeah.
here that we put in. We have this picking where you are sent to the location. We started that.
Yeah.
So we were innovative that way, plus going to the shows. And I'm a natural entrepreneur. Even today,
Yeah.
walking in here, I was thinking of things that I could suggest
Yeah.
to do
Yes.
to help the company grow and be, whatever. I can't help it. It's a
It's a
natural
switch, right?
tendency
It's a
of mine.
natural in your
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So you really had to kind of stick it out before you knew that this was going to be a winner. Did you have moments where you kind of questioned whether this was the way to go?
oh yeah, when we lost a lot. Well, for example, an $8,500 ad that got me $2,500.
Yeah.
We quickly learned we weren't a mail order place.
Right.
And you just moved on from there. I was
Yeah.
fortunate that a lease worked. We had paid our mortgage off on our house, which is fortunate because back then you could buy a house for a lot less
Right.
and you can pay it off in 5 years. Not the same
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
I learned to love the industry. I love the people in the industry. I still do.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel part of the family, even though I'm.
You're a pioneer.
You're still part of the family.
You-
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Very much.
And I'm a natural entrepreneur, and it's necessary to be.
Would you say as an entrepreneur that it's the drive that comes with that you always want to create or do better, or there's always that solution in the background that always drives you to continue to find solution?
Yeah,
What would you-
the changing market. Look at the changing world out there. We're living in a world of Amazon. We're living in a world of all sorts of changes going on all the time, and that affects all of us. It's trying to find ways around whatever. The thing that Purity has going for it is they have tremendous selection of products, really good people working here, really good people. One of the things that I made sure of, and Lise made, the two of us did, we always did our best to get good people and treat them well.
Yeah.
As a former factory worker, my attitude was everybody gets treated as a human being, a novel thought in the world of business. For example, you have a practitioner that comes and offers massages. We started that. You guys continued it.
Yes.
I'm really glad you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Making people feel cared for and treated well. So that's important.
Yeah. In your time over the years, can you recall any specific moments where it was just like you just really felt, yeah, this is exactly where I should be. This is exactly what I should be doing.
Quite a bit of the time, actually. We had some home runs, out of the park home runs. We did some risky things a few
like
times. Where
Like what? Something you can share now?
one of the things that was going on back then was that some of the people at Health Canada were, the word Neanderthal is a term used for people. There was people with very bad attitudes, and their idea of managing our industry was to shove stuff in new drug status. Now, new drug status is meaning you can't sell it.
Yeah.
And it's a $2 million of research to do it. And they did it for no reason.
Yeah.
So I was part of a group, and I got very active in working with the Canadian Health Food Association and lobbying.
Yeah.
And I would go to Ottawa with the others, and we would do our best to persuade people to maybe think differently. We did make some good friends at Health Canada, and over time, and the lobby, we also lobbied with the government. We were able to make some changes. They weren't perfect, but way back when, I would sell products like chromium picolinate,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they were new drugged. And I
Yeah.
sold them anyhow because they were readily sold in the U.S. and the death rate was really low. Like it was good for people. We had a little hidden room. So if Health Canada showed up, they wouldn't see anything like that.
Right.
Like in a movie.
Yeah, I did. I had a hidden room. I was fine to do that because morally and ethically I was doing the right thing.
Yeah. You were comfortable
I didn't
with that.
care that an individual at Health Canada thought that way.
Right.
But again, how you work with these people is you be polite, friendly, and control your temper.
Yeah.
At times it was difficult.
Which is hard when you're passionate and your little
absolutely.
hippie side that tries to push on the boundaries. And
exactly. So I worked with other people. I was instrumental in some of the changes that were made. I was able to. I testified at the Standing Committee on Health and with Health Canada. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
Keeps coming back to treating people like human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And providing products that make a difference in people's lives. And Purity Life sells a lot of products.
Yeah.
I've had people come up to me and say, because of what you sell, it changed my life. Yeah. And that's a nice...
That's...
At the CHFA, I had 2 people come to me and say, what you did helped change my life. Wow. And that was a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right industry to be in. How is it to work with your wife? Because you're very different personality-wise, right?
Yeah, she likes being in the background, which is why she's not here right now. So we've been married 50 years this year.
Congratulations. Wow.
And we didn't even do anything to celebrate other than we announced it to each and talked about it. Yeah. I am a typical entrepreneur. It ended up at Purity that most people work for her.
Right.
Because she's the manager type. And she was really good at it, is really good at it.
Yeah.
And so she basically helped manage the operation. I was the one running around finding new products. I'm a sort of typical entrepreneur that way. I'm ADD and therefore easily get bored. So I'm in meetings and it gets drony. I drift
You
off.
disconnect and you're
And
thinking
I've been
of your
accused
vision.
of not listening.
Right.
And there was some truth to that sometimes. So she was my balance. But she always supported me. When we did Celestine, it could have killed us because I had to buy, it was coming out of Italy. I had to pay for it up front. And they told me that if Health Canada groups it, you're done. We won't support you.
Right.
So,
big risk.
but it worked out fine. We worked with Celestine all the way to the end. When I say the end, the Americans didn't listen to their lawyer. I did listen to our lawyer. In the labeling and stuff, and I did work with Health Canada, but the Americans didn't listen to their lawyer, and they got nailed for over claims, and the FTC came in and they ended up paying a $10 million fine.
Oof. Ouch.
That was one of our home runs. That one, Moducare, was
brand.
the second one, which was a major success for us. We brought a new category in immune care into the North America. Everything up to then was immune boosting. Moducare is an immune modulator. And it balances out the immune system. And we started working with Lorna Vanderhaeg, and she wrote a book, and she did public speaking, so we learned a lot about that. We had a few great successes, and that's one of them.
Anything else that stands out as something that you've just really, really have been proud of to have accomplished?
I think the fact that we're here.
Yeah.
We're here in a beautiful building. Purity succeeded and continued. So many companies that was formed by people. I'm thinking of Innovite. Innovite was a couple similar to Elise and I.
Yeah.
They sold. The people that bought it basically ruined it within 2 years, and it was gone. And so their legacy was gone.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible about that. Yeah. So I often see Matthew and Julie and say, I'm glad you guys have continued the success of Purity. A cute little story about Matthew. We hired Matthew, he said 22 years ago, and not long after that, he got an offer to go back to another company. Elise and I have never done this before, but we argued with him. We came back and made him an offer to change his position and his title. He thought about it over the weekend, he decided to stay. One thing that I've worked on all my life is intuition.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's worked.
Yeah.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling when Synopta, who had owned us for a few years before I was leaving, I had this feeling, and I went to Matthew and said, Matthew, I think you should be a part of buying the company. And I ended up helping Matthew find Banyan, who is now the owner with Matthew in the company. And it was a feeling, and it was the right thing to do, because Banyan are good people. Normally in that world, they call them vulture capitalists. People buy companies, they milk them and get rid of them.
Yeah.
And in this case, Banyan bought this as an investment with Matthew and Julie.
And it really brings back to that entrepreneurship or mentality that you have, because I always find that people who have that, they have intuition, they have vision, and they need somebody beside them that are kind of, helping them in putting the boundaries, but they follow and trust in the vision. And that's really what I seen in you, and that was the balance.
That combination.
That you had that vision and you knew, and she knew that you had the right instinct, so she trusted to follow you, but she was putting the boundaries around, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a perfect analogy, Julie, because she did at times say no.
Yeah, we don't like that, huh?
Well, you know, you want to keep going.
yeah.
But not everything we did was successful. We also had some, we talk about the successes, and we
Right.
don't talk very much about the not successes. I've had some of those that didn't work, and you just move on.
Yeah.
They were never bad enough to kill us, if
Yeah.
you follow.
Yeah.
We did lose money on things that we tried to do, but as a company, we kept making money.
Never knocked you out.
Yeah.
I tried getting into branding, and that really was never very successful. And one of the things that Matthew did when with Banyan took it back over is exited the brands. And I understood that, and I respected it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the problem is I had an emotional component.
Right.
And when you have an emotional component, it's
Yeah.
hard to make tough decisions
is.
like
Yeah.
exiting a brand.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that's okay. It was the right thing to do, and I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we are very lucky that we had you to set that stage for us to kind of continue working on. Thank you so much for everything you've done here, for everything that you've kind of, again, set that stage for us. We're so lucky to have had that. And thank you so much for chatting with us today. It's been
All
a
right.
pleasure.
Well, thank you very much.
You.
All right. And our next guest today is Tes Benedetto, and the category manager from Nature Source, right?
Yes.
And self-professed queen.
Yeah.
I think that's what we decided
That's
the
a
title
great,
was.
yeah, exactly. That's a great title. It goes with the category manager queen.
It's so nice to have you. We've had you around working with Purity Life for a number of years. And I've seen you on different trips that we've done, and there's been lots of interaction. So it's exciting to get you as a guest on the podcast today.
Thank you. I was actually telling Jennifer all about the trips
Yeah.
and how much fun they were. So
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
we've definitely
awesome.
had some good times.
Yeah, so much souvenir, and that's not the end of those souvenirs. I can tell you that. And we're happy you're still on the bandwagon of the natural industry. But how did you get into the natural industry? Because you have a background in category management and the CPG more of, right?
Yeah, so I spent 30 years in mass retailing, and I was actually an executive with one of the larger grocery chains. And as I was winding down and actually getting ready to retire, Sanjeev, who's the founder of Nature Source and a very old family friend, was actually transitioning into Metro.
Right.
And was looking for some help because that's sort of a new play box for him. And so I came over supposedly just to give him a hand.
How many years was that? You
Oh
said?
gosh, that was 8 years ago.
This is your whole second career.
And I helped him just set up the first 3 stores in Metro, and then got a bit of a reputation
Yeah, I'll
in the
say.
industry, and actually have gone on to help other smaller chains as well. Yeah, and now I'm back with him, helping yet again because he's expanded now to 17 stores.
Yeah.
And he's very busy and still
Continued growth.
growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, sort of stumbled into it, but am really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good switch for you.
It was an interesting switch, very different than large mass. I always say nobody hugged me in my previous.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
different type of
very,
relationship. Yes.
very different and very much more relationship based and much more collaborative. Everyone has to win here, and that's not necessarily. It's just a bit different,
It's
right?
a bit different,
Yeah.
yes. Would you say that, like, even if we look in the past years, because definitely from, I would say, conventional to natural as a category manager, it's a bit different. In the past years, though, do you feel that the industry has come up with using more of the conventional kind of process and the way they operate?
I would say absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I stepped away from it when COVID hit. Didn't do too much for a couple of years. And then when Sanjeev asked if I would come back, that's the first thing I noticed was, oh my goodness, the lines have really, really blurred. Whereas 8 years ago, I would not say that. But all of a sudden, the more conventional vendors have bought up some of the natural lines, and you see the natural lines everywhere now, whereas you didn't 10 years ago. So that's just a whole other thing we have to sort of work through, right?
And that's why you're a very important asset, because you played in both sides and you really understand what makes a great category manager.
I think you have to know your product.
Yeah.
I think you have to partner well with your reps in this industry. I think reps are. We love our purity rep. I'm not just saying that.
That's
because
good.
she's standing there.
That's great to hear.
But without that collaboration, it doesn't work because there's so many moving parts here at a much smaller level than I would have been used to. And if we don't have somebody sort of bouncing all those balls for you, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think that helps. And I think understanding what your brands want from you. And they want sales for sure, but they don't want just the sale for the sake of the sale. So you have to be able to sell their product, represent it in the way they want to be represented, understand it. So I think it's really just about working and partnering. And I think there's three sort of groups in this bed, right? There's your broker, there's the brand, and there's you. And everybody has to win.
Now I'm just going to have the image of the bed and all everybody in this thing. I just have that and it's like, okay. What keeps you still motivated though? Because, you started by doing that to help a friend. Yeah. Then, you went away, then you're coming back. What keeps you wanting more? Is it just the friendship still, or you still have a little something there?
Well, it's a bit of a game, isn't it? Like you have a number and you want to see if you can hit that number, and you work towards it. So it's a bit of that. I enjoy that part of it. This is what we need to get to. This is what the brand needs us to get to. This is what our broker needs. Can we do it? Right. So the fun is in getting it done.
Yeah,
I think
the continued challenge.
Yeah.
The tenacity.
So you've had a relationship with Purity Life now for a number of years. Yeah. Any kind of standout moments for you with Purity Life, or things that you remember?
I think the first one for us was when we were going to roll into Metro.
Yeah.
Sanj was given some advice about not doing too big a health and beauty set. And with my background, I was like, how is that going to work in a conventional store?
Yeah.
So even though he's not conventional, he's in that space.
Right.
So I said, that's not going to work. So at the time, we partnered with Purity. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, can I play around with your health and beauty? Because that was not my background. I said, let me play with this. I've got to believe you could be doing better than you are.
Yeah.
And so I sort of took those conventional ways of doing it. But Purity was a big part in helping us set up that very, very first health and beauty planogram. Yeah. And we didn't get it right out of the gate, but we eventually got it right. And that's really how the relationship started. They made it very easy for us because this didn't work. We pulled it out. We brought in something else. And so that's really how it all started, right?
Yeah, yeah. And category management is really about that, because you can look at the numbers, but then the reality is you have your customers that come in the store and they change through years, and then you have to change your mix of products. And that's what we like to do, and we've done, is to say, well, this, we thought that would be working, but it's not, to make it easy to have that transition and that partnership that worked out well that way.
Yeah. And as it turns out, he very much can sell health and beauty.
Right.
Yeah. We just did not have the right mix, and we did not have it set up properly. Mm-hmm. But Purity really helped us figure that out.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the consumers have changed a lot in the past year, not just because of COVID, but when you look at what you buy currently in your sets, is there something that stands out to you?
Well, I feel like some of the tried and true brands that really we could depend on 10 years ago are not necessarily the brands we can depend on today.
Right.
That I find that our consumers are always looking for something new and different, and they're willing to try it. So if we just keep the same sort of conventional products on the shelf, that isn't necessarily going to bring them back to us. So we have to constantly be looking something new and something different.
Absolutely.
The price point has to be just right. Can't be too cheap, or they'll think it's too cheap.
Yeah.
Can't be too expensive, or they might as well go to Sephora. So it's just that little in between. And I think that's what it is. It's just keeping everything fresh.
Yeah.
It's not
Lots
the
of little
same, for
pieces.
example, as selling grocery that just sort of flies off the shelf. You're constantly having to look at what's selling. If it's not, delist it, bring in the next thing.
Yeah.
Packaging's always changing. There's always something happening.
Yeah, I just had a vision of makeup right now when you said packaging changing, right? And all the little pieces that you have to manage and all of those, and the training behind and managing all of that too. So yeah, lots to a big puzzle.
Well, it's been lovely to have you here. Thanks so much for chatting with us for a bit.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Here's to another 40 years with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the category management queen.
Yes.
New title now on your desk.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. we're very happy to have Nathan Woodard, who is the distribution manager at our Acton facility.
Thanks for having me.
We're very excited to have you and poke some good question on how the day went with the 40th anniversary.
I'm very excited. Yeah, it was a fantastic day. The
Yes.
tours, everything. It was overall event was amazing.
Very good.
Great. Can you give us a little bit of background on how you came to Purity Life?
Absolutely. So I've been with Purity Life 3 years now.
Yeah.
I came from Purity Life out of the automotive industry. And to be blunt, I was just looking for a change. And a lot of people ask, oh, you seeked out the natural health product industry. And I wasn't really after the industry itself. It was more so Purity that brought me to this industry.
Yes.
Just a realignment with the leadership style and the values and things like that. And that's kind of how I ended up here working with Purity.
What was the in your previous career that you felt that you needed a change from?
The big thing was, I wouldn't say conflict, but separation of the leadership style and where
Yeah.
I felt like I wanted to be in my career,
Yeah.
as well as a kind of work-life balance that you don't really get, I would say, in the previous industry I was in.
Today, you had the chance to walk with many retailers and show them how it's done. Was there any highlight or a surprise that people have on the way it is? Or
I think the biggest surprise was just how much product we physically moved through the warehouse,
Right.
given the size. Like
Yeah.
we move a lot right through the GTA and to all our customers. So we're small but mighty in size of distribution warehouse space. There's pleasant comments from our retail partners about
Yeah,
How
I
we're-
remember some other tours with the other warehouse distribution manager, and that was always the, wow, you do a lot, guys, with, little and lots of products, but there's not so much space necessarily, and then you can accomplish so much. And they realize like the complexity behind when they receive their orders, that
Yeah.
there's lots of steps in there.
And that was a big topic of conversation today, was just the creativity we come up with in the warehouse to make things operate, whether it's, well.ca and supplying 2 jits a day and how we make that happen, or supplying the GTA with 5 of our own trucks where they, a lot of people are dealing with couriers and things like that.
Yeah.
So just the creativity from beginning to end to minimize the amount of transactions we're making a day was a big topic of conversation today.
Yeah. You've done some creative change here. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because, I mean, it's all you. It's impressive. That helps us to get better and easy to do business with.
I appreciate that. No, it's really built on the foundation that Brian started, it coming in from automotive into the natural health distribution space.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised with how well the processes were, how strong they were. And that's just building off of that. So we've done, in the last 3 years, we've done some creative things like redesigned our boxes to make not only our processes more efficient, but those of our customers. And we had some comments today on our tours about how they're reusing our boxes to give to
nice.
their customers and things like
Yeah.
that. So there's their
That's ingenious.
recycle program there. And
Yeah.
we've launched C3 this year as well to be more transparent to our vendors and how busy our docks may be. Maybe we're booking 1 day out and they can ship right away, or we're booking 8-9 days out and they can hold on to their freight.
Yeah.
And that way they're not facing fines from their carriers and
Yes.
things like that. So we're really working to build our relationships from the warehouse perspective.
It's so impressive because as being in sales and marketing and looking at all the lingos, and when you presented to us that process, having the capacity for the brands to go and book their own appointment, like it's mind blowing, right?
Right.
There's so much behind that but that facilitates, because that's the issue, the roadblocks that you face. You can't have just come and deliver whenever you want. We'll open the door and just come
Right.
and there's a lot more to that, right? So
And it was fantastic. With my last job, I was the supplier, I was the vendor. We were providing those things. So
Right.
I knew those pain points coming from, a company that shipped hundreds of truckloads a day and where things were kind of falling short, to now into Purity Life where we can be better partners with our vendors and get that inventory in the door and on the shelves within 24 hours of it hitting dock and things like that. So it kind of comes all together. And like I said, Brian's built a huge foundation for us to kind of explore these different avenues.
Yeah.
That's
You have
great.
a novel perspective on that. You've got such a great background to be able to kind of bring that to what's been going on here.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that, where I came from in the automotive industry and just how they handle things. And some may say it's a cutthroat industry where it's, go 24/7, inventory levels
Yeah.
down to hours of inventory and
Yeah.
things like that. So the perspective kind of
efficient.
changes. It's efficient. It takes a toll on you for sure,
Yeah.
but it definitely is efficient. And I hope to bring some of those teachings and mindsets
Yeah.
into Purity Life. And like I said, Brian made the transition so easy because he already had those kind of ideas and was just building off of those.
Yeah.
It's funny talking to you. I can almost see the little wheels that are turning on the next project that you're working on. So anything in your magic box that you're working on?
We're kind of testing something out in the warehouse right now. It came up on our tours, was just storage. We're coming to a point where we're trying to carry the right levels of inventory for our customers, and space from a warehouse standpoint is always limited. We always want more
It's
space.
unexpendable.
We can't get more, so we're trying to get creative and coming up with different ways to store inventory in our overflow locations to somewhere that may hold 6 or 7 SKUs versus we can increase that to like 40 SKUs in an inventory spot. So we saw a couple of trials and a couple of people asked questions about it, which was nice to see. They were constantly looking at different ways to do things.
Nice.
Very cool.
So over the 3 years that you've been here, anything that really stands out or any big change that kind of always sticks in your head?
I think C3 is something to be pretty proud of.
C3 being the scheduling software.
Exactly, yeah. So for the all warehouses, for all inbound freight for Purity Life, not just from a perspective that it makes things more visible and transparent to our vendors, makes things more efficient. That's always nice to have, but it was a nice way for our teams to collaborate as well. It was one of the very few projects we've kind of worked on. TIFF was a big help, George in Vancouver, and then the other DCs kind of jumped on later on, and we worked on it collaboratively together. And we still have a group chat on Teams that we bounce ideas off of and problems. From that standpoint, it was fantastic and kind of aligns with my goals in my career. But the boxes were a huge cost save. Cut some costs out of the system through those.
Yeah, we like that.
So it is. It's
that was a great project. That was awesome.
We worked hard on that. We got lots of feedback from our teams, try to generate the ideas, but really rely on the teams that do the work every day. I say it all the time that put me up against any picker, any packer, anything like that, they'll blow me out of the water. I will not be able to keep up, but they're the ones doing the work every day. So, we kind of come up with these high level ideas and then working with them to refine them. And adding handles to boxes came from one of our packers, Bonnie. It was just something small that we never really thought of. Little idea, and next thing you know, next week we have them. So it was a nice little collaborative project there as well.
Well, all of those initiative and working together nationally, listening to our employees really helps to, create that 40 years that Purity has been in the industry. I think that's one of the strengths, right? And many years ahead of us, I guess, to keep doing that. So,
absolutely, yeah. We're looking forward to it all.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
What a great episode. What a last event that we had. It was so fantastic. The energy and all the guests that we had.
Just kind of fills your cup,
I know. It was just a great closure. Absolutely. Follow us on Instagram, Purity Life L Product LP, and myself, JD_Girl Power.
And I'm at Erin G. Macklin. And join us next time when we're joined by Rose and John Michael Skapek from Natural Health Marketing.